Hello and welcome to Enterprise Tech Spotlight. My name is Keith Hales, the CEO of InfoSystems. Here on the Enterprise Tech Spotlight podcast, we help IT and business leaders get engaged and get involved in their IT business decisions and hopefully add more value to the business and learn a little bit in the process too. So thank you for joining us today. I have a wonderful guest named John Murdoch from Dell. John, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So John, if you don't mind, tell the folks just a little bit about your role there at Dell.
So my role at Dell, I am the Apex channel multi-cloud specialist, and I help partners and their end users to understand Apex and the multi-cloud.
Awesome. So Apex, I understand that is something that really has like two main areas. So for those that may not be familiar with what Dell Apex is specifically, help share for us what the different areas are that Apex really makes up.
Sure. So Apex, the portfolio for Apex has two different ways of doing business. One of them we call consumables, which everybody's very familiar with. It's the public cloud, right? It's pure consumables. There's no architecture built in there, specific products or anything like that. It's just a solution to your specific outcome that you desire. I need 20 VMs and I need them to spin up, and I need a terabyte of storage for each VM. And we will set up all the architecture for you. It's simply as a service. And then the second side is what we call custom. Custom is also known as Flex on Demand. And what this is anything in the Dell portfolio today can be sold through a custom solution, Flex on Demand, no matter what the product is, how it's designed, how it's architected. When you design it and you make everything and you get all those specs together, and then you go to a solution guy and he says, let's build this up. He builds it up. We put buffer in it, and boom, that's your solution. The key thing is it's all Dell equipment. There's very few third parties that we put into this stack. So anything and everything in Dell you can buy through Apex, basically.
Okay. So Dell Apex is either buying cloud solutions from, I'd say, the primary cloud partners that exist today, or buying the existing Dell suite of products, really, but buying them in a pay-as-you-go or more consumable type approach that folks are more used to in the cloud, but it might be a more traditional product. Is that a fair simplification?
Yes.
Okay, great. So most of the work that InfoSystems has done in this Apex area has really been on that custom or that Flex on Demand side of the house. So I think it may make sense for our listeners to kind of get a deeper dive understanding. So let's use an example of, let's say, a Dell storage device. Like, let's say Isilon as an example. So Isilon, for those that may not know, is a file storage device where organizations could store large amounts of data in a file format to be used later. So that could be, Word documents or PDFs or even photos or other files like that are going to be used and accessed across the organization. So is it true, John, that you can buy something as simple or common as Isilon through the Dell Apex program today? Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes, you can.
Okay. So what's the difference though? So if I'm a customer, why would I buy something like Isilon, which has been on the market for a while and is a very good product, through Apex when I don't have to, if I could buy it traditionally?
So basically, Flex on Demand is OpEx versus CapEx. Now, everybody in the business of IT understands the OpEx versus CapEx kind of conversation, right? OpEx is a monthly billing cycle, or we can traditionally do it annually, or whatever you decide to do. But it's categorized as OpEx, so it's a monthly write-off for taxes. Where CapEx is different is you pay all up front, and you have to itemize and depreciate that over cycles, right, for IRS. So when we talk Flex on Demand for what you just said, Isilon, let's say it's 100 terabytes. The beauty of this is if they're using 100 terabytes today, that customer is going to come to you, the partner, and say, hey, I want a 5-year warranty. I want 20% growth year over year for the next 5 years, which would be 200 terabytes, right? So you're going to give them a quote for 200 terabytes, and it might be $400,000. Just an example, not real money, just an example, 400K. So with that, where Flex on Demand is different is we're going to ship you that same gear, 200 terabytes, but you're going to commit to a level of 50%, which is what you're using today, 100 terabytes. And if you grow over those 5 years, what you're anticipating, at the end of the 5-year subscription, you're going to be at 200 terabytes. So what this allows you to do is it allows you to pay over time as you grow. Where CapEx, you're paying for growth all up front. And you may or may not hit 20% year over year. And look, I've been in IT for, 40 some odd years, 20 with Dell, 20 with the military before that. And I've never seen anybody grow to their anticipated growth rate that they're telling you. It's never happened without them acquiring hundreds of businesses outside of what they're normally doing. If they go on the track that they normally do, usually their growth is about 50% of their estimate. So if you were to buy that CapEx, you would spend $400K and you would only use about 150 terabytes of that 200. So you over-provisioned your storage. You wasted money is basically the bottom line. You do it on Flex on Demand, you commit at half and you grow to maybe 175. But as you grow to 175, you raise your committal, which allows you to pay less per gig. So in that perfect example, let's just say you don't grow at all to make it easy. You don't grow at all. You're at 50% committal at the beginning subscription, you're at 50% at the end, and you never go above that 100 terabytes. You're going to pay about $225,000 over 5 years in monthly billing. Where that CapEx purchase, you would have paid $400,000 and wasted $200,000. This is where the beauty of it is. Now, the other side effect to this is you never own the equipment. The end user never owns anything. Dell owns the hardware. Dell maintains the hardware at 5 nines across the board, 24/7, 365. You never have to worry about the hardware. We do all the maintenance. We do all the firmware upgrades. We do all the support. The end user just loads their stuff and runs with it. That's the beauty of Apex Flex on Demand. They don't have to worry about infrastructure at all. We take care of all the hardware. And at the end of that subscription, that 5-year subscription, if they want to move off and go back to CapEx, that's fine. We'll let them migrate their data over, and then we'll secure erase all the data on the box, and then we take the gear back. And they can go on their CapEx. But the beauty, the true beauty of Flex on Demand is if they want to renew, we can redo and renew a new subscription with latest and greatest technology, new systems, and do a full tech refresh cycle. And they just continuously pay their 50% committal monthly bill. They don't have any upfront charges. They don't have to pay any, and like leasing, they have to pay $4,000 or $5,000 to get the car. But with us, no. Apex, the beauty of it is you can recycle and tech refresh every 3 to 5 years and continuously pay monthly payments every month.
So John, let me back up. So the customers in your example of where if they went down this specific path that we were talking about as an example, that they would pay $225 over the life versus $400,000 up front. If I'm putting my CFO hat on for a second, what I'm hearing is not only did I not have to finance this thing, right? So I'm not paying interest rates and all that other stuff, but then I'll say the time value of money, right? Because if I'm paying that monthly over a 3-year or 5-year plan, whatever the case may be, then I'm not laying out all this capital right now to don't have that liability on my books today, right? I'm just
correct, absolutely correct.
Operational. Now but the benefit is that I may have a data center investment, or I may have applications that just run better in a data center than in a pure cloud, and so I want to have that local performance and frankly cost savings, right, of our return on the investments that I've already made of going on this path, as opposed to paying one of the cloud partners to do that. So I'm getting the benefit of having the local devices, but I'm not having to basically have all the additional cost and cash outlay that frankly goes along with the traditional way I buy it.
Correct. With Flex on Demand, we will ship the gear to on-site wherever they're at, wherever they want us to ship it to. On-site, in a colo, on the edge. They have a brother-in-law that has a big data center somewhere and they just want to ship it to them because they're not going to pay for the electricity or anything. Sure, we'll ship it there. we will ship the gear wherever they want us to ship it to. The only requirement is the site. We, Dell, have access to get into the site when we need to fix anything if something was to break. If a hard drive was to go bad, which everybody knows in technology, hard drives go bad, right? So
Right.
we would need to have that access to get into the site to swap out the hard drive if for any reason something happened.
So we use the example of an isolon box because that's something that I have a pretty good understanding of, and I think a lot of folks in IT have at least heard of that one. But this could apply to servers, right? This could apply to other storage devices. This could apply to basically anything that is a Dell product. Is that correct?
Any Dell product whatsoever, VxRail clusters, hyperconverged, Dell IP, yes. PowerFlex is a big IP that we utilize.
Yep.
So we have the Dell IP. Anything that is Dell, you can put in the Flex on Demand. The key thing to remember is that we will always own the hardware. We will always manage it and we will always maintain it. So the key point to this is telemetry comes back to us through Secure Gateway, which is a highly secure system. Secure Gateway gives us telemetry and we're able to see the hardware as it's working. Every 5 seconds, we can see data coming back on the hardware. So where this is really big for customers is the support side. In normal support, you call up, you get an 800 number, you call in. Could take you days before you get something fixed. Depends on whether or not you get a level 1, 2, or 3 technician on the line. All Flex on Demand, all Apex portfolio is mission critical, 4-hour response, 7/24, 365, and you have a TAM layer 4 tech who will always be watching your telemetry. So when he sees something that's starting to fail, call InfoSystems, and together InfoSystems and Dell will call the end user, you, the customer, and say, hey, Mr. Customer, hard drive number 4 on bank 3 of your storage array is starting to fail. The tech has the part and he'll be there in 45 minutes. Can you unlock the door so he can go in there and swap it out real quick?
Yeah.
That's the way support's supposed to work. That's the true beauty of Apex because it's our gear. And, when you do that CapEx, you got whatever warranty you bought, next business day, whatever.
So what is the process of a company? Let's say that they know they need to expand their existing IT, or they know they need to refresh their existing IT, or maybe they, this is on their budget for 2024, their topics for 2024. How much more difficult is it for them to review Apex versus what they've traditionally looked at? Is this a harder process? Is this an easier process for working with a company like InfoSystems? And how does that look like from a customer experience?
So from a customer, all the customer has to do is say to you, InfoSystems, I'm looking at both CapEx and OpEx. I want to see both sides of the fence, right? And that's the easiest way to describe it because the process itself is no harder than CapEx quoting.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same thing. We take that CapEx quote, which is the architecture that you designed and built with InfoSystems, and we put it into an OpEx mannerism because it's Dell portfolio already. So we take that quote, we move it over, and then we show you what your monthly bill would be based off of the committal that you make. The beauty of Flex on Demand is you can commit at 40%, 50, 60, 70, or 80%. And it just depends on how much you're going to utilize that equipment. And then we put buffer in there. And that buffer allows you to spike whenever you need to spike. For instance, you buy a company and you got to put an extra 50 terabytes on your storage array, and it's going to be off in a month, right? Well, you'll pay for the 50 terabytes that you put in there for the month that it's there at the same rate that you committed to. We're not going to bill you like public websites bill you, which is the AWS, Googles, and Azures of the world, where they hit you up 10x for all the overage that you do. We don't charge extra for overage. We bill you at whatever you committed at. No matter how much of that buffer you use, you're paying based off of your committal. So that rate is already there. So you'll know exactly how much it cost you. The beauty of this is that once you go into the buffer and then the next month you're back down to your level, you get billed at your level, at your committal. So we're not going to hit you for that overage for the length of your subscription. We're only going to hit you for when you use it. So if you buy a company, you do a bunch of stuff, takes 3 to 6 weeks to get all that data put in and deleted and everything moved around. You're only paying for it while you're using it. That's the other beauty.
Yeah, so it's kind of like you get a lot of the benefits of being in a cloud environment, but less of the hassles of being in a cloud environment. So that's certainly
Absolutely.
Well, John, we are at time. So with this, I'm going to go ahead and just thank you for joining us. And this was great information. And if anyone has any questions, John is a friend of InfoSystems, and he's always been responsive to me. So if anybody wants to get connected with him, we are happy to make that introduction, answer any questions you have. And thank you so much for joining the podcast today. We hope that this Enterprise Tech Spotlight with John and with Apex and Flex on Demand was impactful, and we hope we can see you next time. Thanks a lot. Have a good rest of your day.